How's it going, NPC Nation, and welcome back to a brand new video. So this video is going to be my thoughts on the newer cartoons. If you didn't grow up in the early 2000s into like 2010, late 2010 decade, early 2000s decade to 2010 decade, you don't understand how good those 2 decades were. Those 2 decades were really good. The newer cartoons in the 2020s aren't as good as 2000 to 2010 decade. Because you have the early 2000s, from like 2005 and probably 2002 to 2005 cartoons. Then you have 2005 to 2010, the rest of the 2000s decade. Then you have like late 2010s, early 2010s, because you have Regular Show and all these great shows on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. But if you look into the 2020s, you have mostly reboots. Like Futurama came back, which is not a bad thing. It's pretty good, the new reboot of Futurama. The same voice actors are back and stuff like that. But you have so many reboots, or you have new shows that try to be like shows that they're already doing. Like for example, G.G. Quintel, creator of Regular Show, made another show. It's just a Regular Show but humans. I really don't have an opinion on it, but what I've seen, it just feels like they're trying to do Regular Show, but that's just his style, it seems like. Is that kind of style for cartoons. It wasn't that bad. What I've heard from critics and reviews and stuff. I never got to watch it myself because I don't have that streaming platform that it was on. I didn't have HBO Max or whatever you want to call it now. But the 2000s and early 2000s and then the 2010 era of cartoons, I think, is the peak of cartoons now. Until you get into Teen Titans Go. That's the only bad part about it. The 2010s era. There's not really any bad part. Now you're having new episodes of SpongeBob, all that stuff happening now. They're decent. The new seasons of SpongeBob are okay, if you look at it in a certain way, but they're decent. They're decently okay. But it's not as good as like I said, to 2000. You have reboots, for example, the new season of Total Drama, which I have not seen it yet in the U.S. I don't think it's out in the U.S., but it came out in April, and it's doing well. I wish Cartoon Network could pick it up. I really do. I wish they would go back and pick it up. But it seems like they won't. It seems like they're not going to pick it up. I really do. They picked up Total Drama, which is not that good. They picked up the preschooler version. Everyone's a preschooler. It's weird because not all of them are the same age in the shows. And it's weird because Chef is not really a teacher background. He's a military guy. He's more of a military guy. You never mentioned him being a teacher. But it's just weird to see certain characters because I don't think they would grow up together. But Total Drama is just it's just a weird show in general, in my opinion. But I like nostalgia I like the cartoons from the early 2000s and the 2010 era because it just felt like cartoons were actually getting a personality again in 2010s. It felt like they weren't trying to repeat another cartoon that was very popular like today's cartoons are. They're trying to do a very popular thing, and then with example the Loud House, very popular show, they make it live action. It seems like everything has to be a sitcom or live action, or it has to be rebooted. And the reboot doesn't do as good as the original. Except, for example, like the Futurama reboot. It's doing very well. But will the King of the Hill reboot do any good? That's the one thing I want to ask. Will the King of the Hill reboot do as good as King of the Hill? And how do you pick off, like, I love how Futurama did it, because they have so many endings for that show that they actually used one of the endings, the time travel ending, and restarted the whole show. That's how they restarted it. But you have so many other shows that have restarted from a weird spot and don't explain any of the story. That's the thing with Futurama. I keep using them as an example because Matt Groening knows how to tell a story. To get a good cartoon in 2020s, in the 2020 era, there's not a few, but there is some decent ones. But there's a few, like I said, but you have to have a good story. And you have to have a good audience and a good concept. That's why the newer cartoons aren't lasting 10 seasons. 20 seasons is impossible now. But at least 5-6 seasons. You have some 90s shows that are still lasting, but they've been canceled so many times. Like Family Guy, for example. American Dad, they're making comeback new episodes and all that stuff. But Simpsons still running. But you have all these shows that have 25 seasons, like South Park, Simpsons, plus that. Because they know how to tell a story. The creators know how to tell a story, and they don't try to... They make fun of the shows, or they don't try to impress. They know their audience, so they keep up with modern times. Shows these days just try to copy a show that was very popular, it seems like. And they fail, and they only last a few episodes. But it's such a good show, and such a good animation, and such a good story, but they fail because they're trying to copy one another. That's just my opinion. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, press the share button, press the like button, press the red shiny subscribe button, press the bell, sign up every time I upload a video. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.